Alright you guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Skylar, I'm not a good reseller, and we're back in my shed and we're going over things that have sold for the week. But before we do that, creeping toward that 50 subscriber count, so if you watched this video and you enjoyed it, consider subscribing, hitting the like button, all that good stuff. So let's go ahead and get into the sales for eBay. And first up, we have a few things that I pulled from the house because they recently sold. And let's go ahead and check it out. So, right here, Ui Maikai, I kind of butchered that, Hawaiian shirt, and in a recently, it has yet to be posted as I'm recording this, but it will be posted by the time that this video goes up. So I may as well have just said on the video that I recently posted instead of explaining all this, but it is what it is. So yeah, for this one it sold for $19 and I paid $5 into it, and believe it or not guys, that was lower than what I expected when I bought this. I mean, yes, for other things, but this is a different reason, alright? So for this one, it was because for some strange reason, over me looking over everything, I didn't realize that there wasn't a size tag on this. So I had to take measurements, and in my head, that means that I kind of didn't necessarily command the value as a, nice, fantastic, condition shirt that had the tag and everything like that. So I did, drop the price a little bit to accommodate for the no size tag. All I could provide was measurements and say, hey, it is what it is. But hey, sold for $19, bought it for $5, so it was still a good flip. And I believe that is a quick flip. So we're starting off with a quick flip. That's awesome. So yeah, that's awesome. All right, and another item that's not a quick flip, I just thought about it just now. It's not a quick flip because I took a while to list it, is this item. It is a Publix kind of sweater, Eddie Bauer, and I sold it for $14 and ended up spending only $3.50 into it. And the funny story about this one is that it did have a size tag, but I had a question from the person that eventually bought it, and I took the measurements and everything checked out, but they asked the question, how do you know if this is a men's or a woman's? And I messaged back, I was like, that's a good point, but whenever I bought this, it was in the men's department, so that's really all I have to go off of. And they requested measurements, so I did the measurements and checked out, so we were able to get a sale on this one for $14 to that buyer, so everything checked out. But hey, maybe something to be on the lookout for if you do end up selling clothes or whatever is to, if you got stuff that looks like it could either be in the men's or women's department, just because you bought it in the men's department doesn't necessarily mean that it's a men's shirt, sweater, whatever it is. A good example of that I see sometimes is the jeans. I see women's jeans in the men's section quite often, and of course for me I do the pocket trick, the size of the pocket. But, for somebody, who might not know that, they might just think that it's a small sized men's pants. So be on the lookout for that. All right. And then the last item that I'm pulling from the house is over here. And so, yeah. So the Publix one I took the measurements on. This other pair of pants I took the measurements on. And while it usually doesn't happen a lot, surprisingly, I got 2 messages over the weekend that said, hey, can you take the measurements of them? And both of them sold. Usually somebody will ask the measurements and then they won't follow through on the purchase. So that's a little surprising. So let's go ahead and go over what this one is. So yeah, very nice brand to look out for. Salvage jeans by Buckle. So as I mentioned in a prior video, if you see that BKE jeans, that's short for Buckle. So it kind of falls in that same branch of company, if you will. And for these ones, let me check the price. Okay. So for these ones I sold for $26 and I ended up spending only $6. And before I go any further, some of the numbers that I paid for the items might be a little bit off. That's because I misplaced the little notebook that I had that I wrote down what I had priced on these items. So until I find that, most likely I'll find it later today. So the rest of this video should have, the correct, accurate prices. But if you happen to see a little discrepancy between my haul video and this one, that's the reason. I apologize. I just need to get this filmed. My fiance's throwing a birthday party for 2 of her friends this week. She kind of held off, did a belated birthday celebration. So she's hosting that here. So it's kind of got things scrambled, having to prep the house, having to help her decorate, things like that. So, this is kind of, short and sweet kind of recording that I need to do because I got other things besides the business to handle this week. All right, anyways, let's go ahead over to another item that's sold. So it is over here. Actually, let's go with that. It is a pair of shoes. All right, and here they are. So yeah, Skechers, kind of like hiking trail shoes, water repellent. Goodyear tire brand, but hey, it makes sense because it's kind of rubbery, right? And yeah, so I eventually sold these for $35. It didn't take too long, even though I said eventually. It took a few weeks, not a quick flip, sorry. But yeah, sold these for $35, and I should have put 15 into them. I doubt I would have spent more than that, so yeah. And the good story about these ones was that when I sourced them, it was like a fresh, like it wasn't fresh, but it was like like a big bin, like at a Goodwill, not Goodwill bins, but just at a normal Goodwill, kind of that big beige colored laundry bin that you see. It was full of shoes that I guess an employee set off to the side, and they haven't put it up like on the shelves yet. But it was off to the side for like the whole entire time I was shopping. And then near the end, I was all like, you know what, I'm just gonna go over there. And I went over to the cart and I pulled these out. And look at that, it was worth it. Now, for the most part, I try not to be rude and interrupt the employees whenever they're stocking the shelves or go through like the rack that they're working on. I try not to do that. I try to be courteous and wait for them to do their job, not interfere with it when it comes to storing more items on the shelves. So, but at times if hey, nobody's around, nobody's working on this actively, I'll be an opportunistic person and hop on some profits here. All right, and then we got another pair of shoes back here. Terrible buy, don't recommend. They've been in my store forever. I pretty much, for this sale, I just made it to where I didn't have a minimum on best offers, and whoever threw an offer at me, I took it. That's how desperate I was on these. All right, and here they are. So just like a brown, whether faux leather or leather, I'm not too sure. Probably a little bit of both. Shoes, Levi's. And yeah, I took a best offer at $6. $6 for a pair of shoes, not bad. I mean, that's kind of like what we source it for, let alone resell it for. But I mean, I've had these for a year. I've had these for a year. I wanted to clear them out, so I took it. And $6 is what I got. $6 most likely what I spent. So we'll just call it even. And the interesting thing about those pair of shoes too is that they are my size. So theoretically I could have just kept them and wrote it off. But for me personally, I don't necessarily like the style, or it doesn't go. The style's all right. It just doesn't go with a lot of the clothing I wear. Does it really go with this shirt? Not really. With the long sleeve kind of shirts and like pants, I usually wear shorts. If you guys have been really keen eye when I, maneuver around here, you might notice I wear a lot of shorts. And yeah. And hey, speaking of that, that reminds me, let's go over the Bad Buy shirt. Now, I'm cheating a little bit because this shirt is technically my own wardrobe, and it was actually a gift, but I've had similar shirts to this. She just got me a different color. But yeah, the brand though, still one to avoid if you're a reseller. It's Real Legend. I don't know if you can see that logo there, but yeah, Real Legend, REEL Legend. Avoid that one. It's not good. Even the fishing shirts, I mean, nah. The sell-through rates aren't that good, and the value on the shirts isn't that great either. And it's kind of understandable because this is kind of like the Bell's outlet, at least for us down here in Florida, that store. You see that, and that's kind of like your budget-friendly items at that store. So you're already working at a low price point out the get-go at stores that make that first sale on the shirt. So good luck getting resale out of it. And yeah, but I mean, and like I've said on multiple shirts before, I like this shirt. It's just the brand doesn't resell. And I mean, perfect example, guys. Like, come on. It's comfy. I like it. Nice color. Things like that. And yeah, it is what it is. But yeah, so avoid that. All right, now this next one was actually a little bit of a surprise. I thought it was cool, so I went ahead and bought it. And then luckily it turned out to have really good resale value, and it is a quick flip. So yeah, how cool is this, guys? So for genuine parts and sales and service, a coffee mug, really great condition, and it's got like a little like tire bottom like coaster, and it comes apart like that. Open road brands, so I mean, if you guys happen to see this kind of stuff, I'm assuming it's going to go to some like mechanic or Ford enthusiast, and pretty cool decoration. I mean, if this didn't like sell and I didn't see the sell through like value whenever I was confident and stuff, I probably would have bought it myself, because I bought this for 50 cents. So it's like 50 cents for a coffee mug. Why not? I mean, unless you hate Ford, you know, I think it's pretty cool. And yeah, so I spent 50 cents and this sold for $20. So huge profit made on that, percentage wise, and even the dollar amount. So awesome. All right, guys, and then the last thing that sold is a little Nike pair of shorts over here in box KK. All right, and here it is. So yeah, Nike, it's like a dry fit pair of shorts. There were so many of them, I didn't expect it to sell. So yeah, and here it is, just like a generic Nike dry fit pair of shorts. I didn't expect this to sell quickly just because of how many there were. It's kind of a generic, I just said Nike dry fit, and the size and the color, that was it. No extra specifics. But hey, what happens if you price it low enough? It sells quick. So on these I sold them for $6 and I only had $1 in them, so not too bad. Alright, and here's the bundle of everything that's sold so far. So guys, unfortunately, when it comes to reselling, sometimes you're going to get items where the customer isn't satisfied with it, there's something off, and you're going to need to do a refund. Well, I got slammed hard with some of them. And the reason why it's even more unfortunate is because last month I had 0 like returned items. And yes, last month wasn't as great in sales, but still, like, I had like no returns. So I was like, oh man, that's great. I don't normally expect that. But man, this week I got slammed with like 3 returns in a row, and it really was disheartening. Like, it like stopped my momentum for the week in terms of just my work week. And definitely don't let that detract you, because there are sales that have happened. As I'm recording this, I kind of have the weekend sales. So, if I don't address it this week for what sold this week, next week you're going to see that there was definitely a bounce back that motivated me to get me right back in the running here. So, don't get too discouraged by refunds, even if there are a bunch of them. I'll go over them right now, kind of which ones happened. So, one of them recently up here was the Yui Maluku, the orange Hawaiian shirt that sold recently that I wasn't able to take, it didn't have a size tag, so I took measurements. Well, the way I measured didn't match up with the way that the customer measured, and, whether or not there was a little bit of who knows what, I wouldn't necessarily call it a scam, in the end, it was probably me that didn't measure it, the way it should have been, like it was folded a certain way. I measured it to be 22, they measured it to be 24, said it was too big. So it is what it is. At the end of the day, even if I was right with the way that I measured things, they would still say it doesn't fit, would demand a return. So I just refunded them anyways, and just let bygones be bygones. The only thing that was slightly funny was that when they sent me a picture of the measurement, they just showed like that little corner of the armpit and the picture where the number lined up. They didn't show the full length of the tape and like the actual measurement taken. And they also used like one of those like paper, like, I mean, to be fair, it's the proper one to use. See, so that's why I'm not necessarily knocking them for the discrepancy in the measurement, because they used one of those like flexible, like almost like I don't know what you call it, just a line of tape that can bend and wave and stuff. It's like a piece of like plastic or something. Whereas for me, I used the metal measuring tape. So they had a proper tailoring measuring tape. I had a metal measuring tape for like hardware, tools and stuff. So whereas theirs might have like, bent with the wrinkles and stuff, mine was literally a straight shot. So I could see that there'd be some discrepancy there. Um, but yeah, and at first in my head I was thinking, hey, send me back a picture with the full measurement and I'll be glad to refund you if it doesn't match up. But in the end, like I said, who cares? They're just going to say it doesn't fit anyways. Just accept the refund. And I did. So I lost money on that. And that shirt, I believe I paid $5 for. Shipping ended up being like $5. So all in all, I'm out $10 on that one. And the next one is unfortunately, and I'm not even, it's on me because I think I should have had the cup upright in the package and not sideways. Even though I did, the bubble wrap, did the newspaper stuff like that, thought it was going to be good, I should have kept that mug upright, I think. Uh, but yeah, so unfortunately it was that Ford mug that was so awesome, and I'm so angry at myself because what happened is the handle broke. It is what it is, when you're dealing with delicate stuff like that, things like that are going to happen. So with this particular return, totally not their fault, totally on my end. So I gladly, gave them a refund for it. Obviously, because it was damaged, no need to return it. Uh, you know, but hey, they got a cool little like bottom tire wheel coaster at the end. It's up here in case you don't know what I'm talking about. And yeah, so and like I said, back to back. And then the last one, unfortunately, was a pair of jeans up here. It was the salvage buckle jeans, and it was another case of not measuring. The measurements didn't line up with what they measured, and didn't fit them. So pretty much the same excuses, or the same reasons, not excuses. Sorry, the same reasons that the shirt didn't fit is similar to the jeans here. And with the jeans, which I might do in the future, I don't know. Leave in the comments depending on how you guys would measure jeans for those that sell jeans or sell pants and stuff like that. Um, so what they did was that they folded the pants inside out and measured the inseam. Whereas for me, I just measured the inseam with the pants laying down flat. I don't know if there's a difference in that measurement or not. Apparently there was. And again, the tape that they used was not like the straight metal tape that I use. It was the tailoring. Like I said, they're in the right. That's like the proper measuring tool to measure clothes. Mine's just the tool to measure like cutting wood and stuff. So, I'm not going to fault them for using a different type of tape. And then unfortunately, I mean, they were really adamant about like, hey, you're in the wrong. Like, it was a little discouraging because and that's the thing too. Yeah, it's a little discouraging to get the refund, but also be prepared for the negativity of the messages that you're going to receive for this return. So, it was like borderline. They were saying that I was trying to scam them. It didn't measure up right. And I had pictures of all the measurements, how I measured it. In the pictures, they saw I used a metal measuring tape, how it was measured. So, I'm not trying to scam anyone. And they were like, oh, it says that it's size this and it's actually this. And it's like, yeah, that's why I measured it to show you that the size didn't match up. But yeah, so, and then the other thing, the way I measured pants with the belt, and I think this is the proper way. I don't think that they did it the proper way. I think that they just did it to help their case out. So, I'll clap back a little bit here. Not a good reseller, guys. Not a good reseller. But yeah, they took that tailoring measuring tape and they looped it around the belt loop and then showed the number. Like, no. What I do with my pants is I take the measuring tape across the waist of it being flat and then you times it by 2. Like, I'm sorry, but that's the proper way to do it. Not the belt loop where, like I said, especially with a non, it's not going to be right. Like, you can kind of flub it if you do it through the belt loops. You can kind of flub it to any way you want, to be honest. Now, if it was on the person's waist and they did it, I can understand. But there's no way you're going to be able to keep the proper shape of the pants when you're putting it through the belt loop when you're taking a measurement. But yeah, so that's kind of my like slight rant, slight venting of those returns that happened. And that one was like I believe it was sold for $25. Bought the pants for $5, shipped for $8.30. So that one I'm out like 12. And then the mug was only 50 cents and it cost about $7 to ship. So roughly $8 out there. So just in those 3 alone, 10 for the shirt, 8 for the thing, and then we'll say 12 for the pants. That's roughly $30 that I'm out. And that, I mean, and it's not too far off from what I try to get a whole day. So pretty much my whole day was shot, and like I said, discouraged. But you know, it is what it is. That's the what happens when you resell. And I'll probably make this like the thumbnail too, just to kind of get a little more clicks and things like that. Uh, but yeah, with that out of the way, let's go over a few of the things that have sold to finish out this week. And it's a little bit different because I left for my family's house. It was my mom's birthday, so I went to go celebrate that. So my fiance was the one that ended up packing and shipping these items. So I'm not going to obviously be able to physically show you what sold, but I will have pictures up here. So let's go ahead and go over those now. All right, and the first one up here is a Oakley polo shirt. Pretty nice, and it's Oakley, which it surprisingly doesn't have as great sell-through rate as you would think, but it's enough to be worth picking up if you can see it and get it for the right price. So yeah, spent $5 on this, ended up selling for $15, so that's pretty good. And then the next item here is a pair of jeans, 7 for All Mankind jeans. So if you remember, there was the 7-7 jeans, and then there's the 7 for All Mankind. 7 for All Mankind is like the better sell-through rate one that you kind of want to look out for out of the two. And yeah, they eventually sold, and they sold for $22.50, and I was in them for $5, maybe 6, probably 6. Let's just say 6. I was in them for $6 and sold them for $22.50. So pretty good flip on what I expect for my jeans. All right, guys, and then there's just one more item that sold, and overall, you know, it's kind of how it's been, where it's been strong in the beginning of the week and strong at the end of the week, not too much in the middle. Unfortunately for this weekend, or for this week, the middle was pretty bad with those returns, so it kind of, oof. But like I said, just because the way I'm recording this, there's definitely brighter side on the horizon, so, you know, I'm not going to be too down about it. So the last item up here is a Chicago Bears hat, and I believe I got this free for my dad, so it didn't cost me anything, and I ended up selling it for $8. Surprisingly took a while, because I think the design's pretty cool for a Chicago Bears hat. You know, it's not just the C, it's got the bear in it, guys, like, you know, so, and, you know, we used to live up in Illinois, so, you know, my family kind of has some ties to the Chicago Bears team. But, you know, we've since moved to Florida, and now we're on the Florida side, so... So, you know, may as well get rid of it, right? You know, they're rooting for the Florida teams. And yeah, that's going to conclude this week, guys. So yeah, definitely a little weird, kind of just how the schedule was, the momentum change from the returns and things like that. So, you know, next week we should be able to chip it up a little bit, get more into a routine of a more excited version of me. We'll see how it goes. But, you know, that's how reselling is, you know, ebbs and flows with all the different things. You're never going to know what a week entails. So yeah, have a good one, guys. Thank you for watching. If you liked it, hit the like button, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to be notified of future videos to see how things are going in future weeks. And thank you.